What is going on, guys? This is Gene Jensen, and it is time for another Friday Night Live. Oh, so, what's going on, everybody? Man, I literally got off the lake 45 minutes ago, and I'm lucky I didn't get a speeding ticket on the way home because I flew home to get this thing rocking and rolling. So I didn't do any blast outs. I just kind of, let's just roll with it because I'm not prepared. But fishing was good. I caught two good ones. It was really slow bite. Only got 4 bites all day. Landed all 4 fish. But it was fun. Those 2 big ones were nice. They'll go good with the tournaments that I'm fishing right now. But woo, and I'm eating, so y'all gonna have to forgive me for a little bit. Hudson Hollis, what's going on, man? BOAV Smart, love Fluke Fridays. I love it, man. That's awesome. Oh goodness. Oh, Alan Knight, what's going on? Everybody say what's up to everybody. But boy, it was slick, calm water today. The water temperature got up to 85.5 degrees. It was 72 3 days ago, or 78 3 days ago. So it was very difficult fishing. It was, like I said, I only got 4 bites, but I landed all 4 fish, and man, it just was it was good to catch 2 good fish to enter. And I'm fishing 2 tournaments right now. The KBF Regional Father's Day Tournament, which is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So today, tomorrow, and Sunday. I won't be fishing it Sunday, but tomorrow. And the monthly Georgia State Challenge, KBF Challenge. So I'm currently leading the monthly one by a long shot. I've got 116.5 inches. Clint has 111 and some change. So it's going to be hard for people to catch up with that. But anyway, thanks, Cody Lewis. Appreciate it, man. Thomas Goodner. He says, it's my first Fluke Friday. Love your videos. Thanks, man. Thanks. What we do here is you guys ask questions. I answer them the best of my ability. If I don't know, I tell you I don't know. And we get things going. It gets kind of crazy. I don't read very fast, so I miss a lot of comments or a lot of questions, but I'll get to them when I can. Couple of items of business. First of all, this following Sunday, not this coming Sunday, not day after tomorrow, but the following Sunday from 4 to 8 p.m., and I'll say it again next Friday Night Live, but from 4 to 8 p.m., I am fishing mano-a-mano against Dave Lefebvre live on Angler's Facebook page. So Dave's going to be up at Lake Erie, as far as I know, whipping my tail with smallmouth. And I have got to find a lake that has good cell service. The one that I'm currently catching all my giants on has 0 cell service. So fishing there is going to be a challenge, or will be impossible. So I've got to spend this next week looking for fish on some other lake, and I'll just have to find one. But it should be fun. And I think Wednesday, let me get my schedule out so you guys can. So because Wednesday we're going to have a pre-show, and I'll put it all on my Instagram and on my Facebook page. But let's see, Friday Live tournament. Yeah, Wednesday we're going to do kind of a pre-interview between me and Dave, and it should be pretty cool. But I'll put all that on my Facebook. That's neither here nor there. If you guys are interested in any Fluke Master apparel, check out flukemaster.com. I got hats, shirts, hoodies, mugs, all kinds of stuff that I'm trying to get rid of so I can order some more. So go buy something just so I can get more cool stuff. Okay, enough of the corny crap. Let's get into some questions. Let's see. Weekend Fishing says, you do anything with Monster Bass? LTB seems to have went downhill. LTB closed shop about a year and a half ago or something like that. One of the investors was a crook, and he did a hostile takeover, fired the president, and then shut the thing down. But it was making money. It was doing great, but he was doing something with taxes he wasn't supposed to do. Anyway, So the president of LTB started Monster Bass, and Monster Bass is really good. He's doing it the way he wants to. It's his company, no investing that I know of, and but I don't have anything to do with him. I told him I was done with boxes for a while, so he's respected that. But I have talked to him a few times. But that is the best box out there by far. So S. Staley, hey Gene, going night fishing for the first time this week. Any tips? Go check out my night fishing video that I just did on the baits that I use. Fish points, fish shallow on the points. Lighted boat docks are my favorite. I'll go from lighted boat dock to lighted boat dock all night long if I have to. But yeah, go watch that video. It'll be the best thing. But I haven't fished night tournaments in probably 8 years, 7 or 8 years. But I used to be really good at it. And I fish Texas rigs and spinner baits, and I just cover a lot of water. And if I have fish that I know are on a piece of structure like a point or a drop, I'm still going to fish a dark jig or Texas rig or something in that area. So let's see. I just heard my phone buzz. Oh, never mind. It's Angler emailing me about or texting me about next week and all the things I need to know. Jeff, I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name. Yeah, evening, bud. I've been waiting to catch you live. You hinted on something a few days ago in a video. Hookup ratio on kayak. Can you go a little in depth? Yes. When you set the hook on a fish in a kayak, the kayak goes towards the fish enough to affect your hook set power. And so you've got a few things you've got to take into consideration, or you can adjust for that problem. You can go full braided main line tied to a fluorocarbon leader and fish every rod that way, which is great. Take stretch out. You can really set the hook hard or set the hook good. If you watch me set a hook on a kayak, I really reel down to that fish and I hammer as hard as I can, as far back as I can with the hook set every single time. And I'll even double hook set after I've got a hold of them. Another thing, you can up your power of your rod. So like you normally fish something on a medium heavy, you can fish something on a heavy. I don't like to do that. I don't recommend it, but that is an option. Beef up your line a little bit. Use fluorocarbon or braid is what I would consider. Boy, we got some donations coming in. You guys are awesome, but just understand that's what happens. And then you get into the casting angles. If I cast to my right side and I'm facing this direction, because I hold my rod in my left hand, I cannot set the hook strong enough. I can't do it across my body. It just doesn't work that way. So I always have to turn my body and shoulders square to the fish before I do it. I lose a lot of fish on my right side, so I try never to cast that direction. But I'm going to make a video about cast angles and kind of talk about them and get more into detail. So, Sean Lay, thanks for the $5. He says, I'm not going to try to find it. There it is. Hi, Gene. Doing my first co-angler BFL this week. Woo-hoo. Any tips? Reservoir in Illinois, post-spawn, think 6 rods too many, or can I get away with more? 6 is the maximum. I usually take, as a co-angler, I usually recommend 5. Just because you'll notice you only got a little bitty area to put your rods in on the boat, and it just gets all squirrely and you get tangled up. It's just a mess. Fish your strengths. Don't worry about what that guy's doing. Fish what you are strong at and learn all you can from that guy is the best thing to do. By far, man. That's awesome. I remember my first BFL. Matter of fact, it was my only BFL as a co-angler. My angler was a jerk, to say the least, and it kind of turned me off of BFLs for a little while, and I never went back because I got busy with YouTube and all that other stuff. But I still remember his name. I still wanted to punch him in the nose by the end of the day. And but anyway, such as that. You usually draw really good stuff, really good people, but you can get a jerk. So Iowa Bass Hunter, tell us about, thanks for the $5, by the way. Tell us about the new 13 fishing being released. They're all out in my truck because I just fished with them. You'll see them on the live thing with Dave Lefebvre this next Sunday. But the Concept A is a total redesign. They sealed everything. They made it more and more saltwater proof. They changed the braking system to something that's about 30% less and a lot smoother. When I first got it, that's the one thing I noticed first, and I called Matt and talked to him about it. But that's new with the A. The handles are the same. It's a little lighter. The design that they did was just to make it more indestructible. And so you'll notice that the screws are in a different place. They have little inserts around the screws. I don't know what they're called. Matt would probably kill me for calling them inserts. But anyway, it just made the whole thing more durable. The C is as light as a $500 reel for like $220 is what it's running. It is lighter than their Concept E was, and it's lighter than their old KP was, and the KP was $550 or something. And so that's going to be interesting. I love that reel. It's beautiful. But anyway, and then you got new baits coming out that I haven't been given the red light to show you, to tell you guys about. I've got they've got the new V3, the white rod, pearl white, beautiful white rod. It's $100, and then now the Fate Black is now $80, and it's a new design Fate Black. That's what I've been catching my fish on this month. All the big fish I've been putting in the boat during the tournaments, all been on a Fate Black. So hey, Gene. Oh, Tyler Sexton, man, thanks for the $10, brother. You must be getting broke. I'm just kidding. Hey, what's up, Gene? How are you? I picked up a GoPro. Do you know any video editing apps or programs or websites for someone just starting to do videos? This will be for fishing only. The best thing to do is to get onto YouTube and learn. Just do your research on either free apps. I always like to pay for my programs just because you get a lot more for that. But you can start by using, oh gosh, I can't remember the name of them. I haven't done it in so long. Elements. Adobe Premiere Elements is a good, inexpensive program that's got just about everything you need to just basic edit. But get on YouTube and learn how to edit and learn how to frame your shot. Like, this is not a good frame and this is not a good frame. You just learn how to frame your shot, where to put your eyes, that kind of stuff, and go for it, man. Just start. Make all the mistakes that everybody else makes and learn from them, and just keep on rocking and rolling and don't quit, and you'll be just fine, man. Thanks for the $10, Tyler. I appreciate it. All right. Best Fish Finder KBF tournaments. I love my Raymarine Element, but it ain't cheap. It was an expensive fish finder. But like I always say for people, buy the largest screen that you can afford. Make sure it has at least down imaging, color, mapping, and regular sonar. Those three are the basics that you need to have. If you want side imaging, get a giant screen. Because you lose detail with the smaller screens with side imaging. So that's why I have a 9-inch on mine. But it all depends on what your budget is. So how's the Fate Black Gen 3? Like I just said, I love it. So far, so good. I've caught a 9.5, a 7.5, a 7 1/4, a 6.5, a 6 3/4. An 8.5, an 8. This is all in the last 3 weeks, guys. And today I caught close to a 7. I didn't weigh her, but she was fat. Close to a 7 and about a 5.5 on the same rod, and it's a medium heavy 7'3" Fate Black, the brand new one, and it's super sensitive. The bite is super light with the Texas rigs, and I'm doing it in the video that I talk about how to fish a Texas rig. To catch big bass, that's how I'm doing it. Super slow with soft bites. So, ooh, let's see. There's another comment. Somebody donated. I'm trying to find it. Oh, it's not there. Oh, there it is. Naranda, thanks for the $10. I really appreciate it. She says, hey, Gene, what is your best advice for someone new to bait casters? What's the best way to learn, and what are your recommended reels and rod combo? For a learning reel, I never recommend buying anything under 50 bucks. I usually try to tell people to stay between a $60 reel and an $80 reel. You get down to the 50s, it has a lot of plastic parts, and it can be really frustrating. I learned on a dirt cheap reel, and I was ready to pound my head up against the wall while I was learning, and I wished somebody had told me to go buy a $60 reel. But anyway, and it would have been a lot easier. And I've got a video where I taught my nephew how to cast a bait caster. It's got all the little tricks that I use when I'm teaching people. Number one is make one good cast, or pull your line out one good cast, and then pull about 10 more feet off, and then tape your spool, and then reel your line back over top of your spool. And that'll prevent your backlashes while you're learning, but it'll give you enough line on that spool that if you do screw up, you'll know you were going to backlash, and so you can fix your technique and stuff like that. Practice in the backyard. Don't do it on the lake. Don't try to fish with it. It's frustrating. Set up a 5-gallon bucket, tie a quarter inch nut on the end of your line, and hit that bucket. Don't try to ring it, just try to hit it, and start short and go long. There's a bunch of different tricks on that video, though. Go watch it. All right, man, you guys are killing it tonight. That's awesome. Just moved to Melbourne, Florida from Denver, Colorado. My fishing setup needs to change. Yes, it probably does. Probably needs to go get a little bit heavier. What do you suggest for rod and reel setup for fresh and saltwater? I don't know about saltwater, but I can tell you about freshwater down in Florida. You're going to be dealing with a lot of cover, a lot of grass. I would get 2 rods, a 7'3", 7'4", medium heavy, fast rod. Put a 8:3-to-1 gear ratio reel on it, put 50 to 60 pound braid, and then the next one would be a heavy 7'6" rod. Same thing, 1-to-1 gear ratio reel, 50 to 65 pound braid, because that braid cuts through that grass. When you catch a bass and it buries you in that grass, you can rip out with the braid, but the fluorocarbon is going to be tough, and any other line is going to be really tough to do it with. So, and then go buy some June bug and black and blue Cincos, and any kind of soft plastics, June bug or black and blue, and go from there. And then just go fishing, especially this time of year. Those kind of work. In the spring, I tend to throw paddle tail swim baits a lot and chatter baits, but not so much this time of year. So. Oh, Scrimshaw caught his personal best today, so all is well in the world. A 25-inch, 6-pound, 3-ounce, long and skinny. Only fish I caught today, but the only fish I needed. That is so awesome. A 25-inch, 6-pounder. The one fish that I measured, the longest fish I've ever put on a measure board was 25.5 inches, and it was just shy of 8 pounds. No, it was just over 8 pounds. And so, holy cow, dude. I remember that was awesome. That was 2 years ago. Maybe last year. Maybe it was last June. But holy cow, that's awesome. Congratulations. Hey, Gene, what type of motor is best for a kayak fishing, and are they necessary or not? For me, they're necessary because I like to get around the lake a little bit, especially when I have my kids out and I want to go from kayak to kayak helping them. To fish tournaments, it's starting to get that way. I'm not saying they are necessary right now, but if you don't have a top of the line pedal drive and you want to put a trolling motor on the front, then it's going to get to that point where to be competitive in high tier tournaments, you're going to have them. With that said, Motor Guide's about to come out with a kayak trolling motor, because a lot of these guys have been cutting the shaft down and voiding their warranty and putting it on their kayak, which is just fine, but you don't have any warranty on it anymore. So they're coming out with a kayak trolling motor. I don't know if I was supposed to say that or not, but I did. Got one on the front of one of my boats. Been testing it this week. So, awesome. How did Jordan do today? Did he upgrade any today? Damon, he didn't fish today. I tried to wake him up and he's like, I'm too tired. So I left without him. So I dropped his kayak on the ground and rolled out. Oh, goodness. Let's see. I got that one. There was one more. There it is. J Dubs, thanks for the $10, man. He said, just because I've learned so much from your videos, Spent 2 weeks in Georgia. Last 2 weeks, drooled every time I crossed Lake Lanier. Simply beautiful. That is a gorgeous lake. It used to be a great largemouth lake. Now it's an awesome spotted bass lake. Let's see. I just got a text across my line. I turned and Amanda Brandon, you just totally made me lose my train of thought. Goodness. She's one of the officials over at KBF. My dad and I are going pier fishing tomorrow at 7 a.m. on Lake Erie. Any walleye fishing tips or anything? I am not a walleye fisherman. There is walleye in my lake, but you catch one a year on accident. It's one of those things. I don't know. I wouldn't even begin to be able to tell you. I'm sorry, man. I saw you at Rocky Mountain Fishing Area. Yes, Gavin, that's where I was. I fished there from 6 o'clock this morning until 7:15 this afternoon and ran home to do this. So, Kyler, what did you do? He says 3 beers in. Hold on a second. Thanks for the $5, man. He says 3 beers in and rigged up the rods for tomorrow. Have a great Father's Day weekend, brother. God bless. Thanks, man. I'm going to fish all my heart out all day tomorrow. I'm going to go backwards and pick up some of these questions that I've missed. Let's see. Hello, Fluke. Tell us about the biggest fish you had in the boat that got away. I had my PB about 5 pounds, put it on the stringer, pull it in shortly after to get measurements, and it was gone. Oh, dude, I had that happen last year during a tournament. I was using one of those donkey leashes. It's a little clip you put on there. And the fish slammed his head up against the side of my kayak and popped that donkey leash loose, and it was gone. And it was like a 23, 24-inch fish. It was huge. The biggest one I've ever lost was, I talked about this last week. I had a cheap spinning reel. I was in a borrowed 10-foot John boat on a lake on the back of Fort Gordon when I was stationed there. And I threw a fluke, go figure. I threw a fluke into a beaver run that was going into a beaver hut. And a bass hit it, biggest bass I've ever seen in the water. I set the hook, the drag pulled and then caught and snapped my line. And I went home and just about in tears, told my wife I'd never buy another cheap spinning reel again. I think it was a cheap Shimano that I bought at Walmart. I said, from now on, I'm buying good quality stuff. And that was it. That was still to this day, the biggest fish I've ever seen on the water, or biggest bass. So, let's see. What's up, Gene? Josh here. Been following you for quite some time now, and I cannot for the life of me figure out why I'm not catching bass. I've tried everything. Any tips for Western PA? Western PA. I was thinking Eastern. Sorry. Western PA, you're going to have kind of, I think there's rock in your lakes or that kind of stuff. But if you're bank fishing, any lake, any pond that I go to, I try to find the deepest water in the area that comes closest to the bank. And I fish that first. And then I work my way out from that, following the bank along. The best thing to do, especially in Pennsylvania, you guys, your water temperature doesn't get super high. So the fish tend to stay a little bit shallow more, but look for cover. Look for trees in the water, grass in the water. The bass are going to be hiding in that cover, waiting to ambush their prey, and fish slow, and you'll catch some fish. I promise, man. Good luck. Do you fish for smallies ever? Only when I go north. There are some smallmouth in some rivers close by, but I don't fish for them very often. But I love to go to Wisconsin and Minnesota. I missed my Erie trip this year because of COVID-19. I usually go to Erie in May. And but anyway, so yeah, I do every once in a while. I'm not super at it, but I love to try. Hopefully the giant worm bite is on tomorrow. It was barely on today, that's for sure. They weren't biting much. So what kind of boat do I have? Stetson, I have an Alumacraft Pro 185 with 115 horsepower Evinrude G2 on it. And I also run a Bonafide kayak. It's a Bonafide SS 127. And I have a Torqeedo 1103 on the back, which is equivalent to it's an electric motor, but it's equivalent to a 3 horsepower motor. Pushes my boat at about 6.2 miles an hour, fully loaded. And those are the two main ones I fish out of, and I love them both. I love my Alumacraft. Good grief, it's been good to me. I've been with Alumacraft for 4 years now, I think 4 or 5 years. Helped them design the layout of this boat, and I'm kind of partial to it. But like I told everybody when Evinrude went out of business a couple of weeks ago, I don't care what's pushing from behind me. It can be two turtles pushing my boat. I'm going to be fishing out of Alumacraft. So, do you have any beach fishing tips? No, I don't. I live so far from the beach that yeah, it's going to take us 7 hours. Me and my wife, well, probably 5.5, 6 hours to get to the beach this next 2 weeks when we go on vacation and get away from our kids. So, oh goodness. Which that's actually a good Cash and Rods is really good. They have a good kayak series. 13 is coming out with a kayak series rod. I forgot about that. Short butts, I helped them get all the parameters. What I did was over the last 3 years, I've asked all of the top kayak anglers in the country, just kind of while I'm talking with them and stuff, what do you like in a kayak rod? What would you like in a rod? And most of them said they want short butts because that way they can move around and it doesn't get snagged on their belly or their PFD or anything else, but maintain the length so you get a lot of leverage. And that's what 13 Fishing has done. So yeah, look forward to those rods if you're a kayak fisherman. They're awesome. I've been fishing with them for 6 months now and love them. I broke one the other day and just about died. I was pulling the cover off my boat and the cover snagged on it, and all I heard was snap. And I'm like, I know what that was, and it sucked. Anyway, hey, Gene, I'm 18 years old, sophomore in college, and I want to start fishing tournaments. I live in Memphis. Where should I look? Okay, let me switch over my brain over to bass boat tournaments. Start with fish a few BFLs. You know, the Bass Fishing League. I don't know who's running it now, but start with a BFL or find a club in your area. Get involved with the club, but the BFL is probably the best way to do it. Sign up to be a co-angler. I think the entry fee is, they probably raised it since last I checked, but it's like $100, and you get to sit in the back with an experienced angler and just, you know, fish behind them and watch and learn. College, if your college has a team, jump on it. Even if it's a club team, you should be just fine. So Kyle Lundy, thanks for the $5, man. I really appreciate it, brother. Awesome. J-Dub says, hit the like button. Gene is awesome. Thanks for teaching me how to fish. That's awesome, man. Thanks. Yeah, everybody hit the like button. It helps people while I'm on the live deal. It helps people to it boosts my video or my live up in the search, and then people find it faster. All that algorithm crap that I don't really care much about. So I'm going to Lake Seminole in the morning. I live on it. You suck. I'm fishing hydrilla grass lines. What baits do you suggest? I love to fish grass lines with a chatterbait. I love to fish grass lines with a fluke and with a square bill. The square bill is a little tricky. If I have a good long straight grass line that's got a good hard edge, I like to tweak that square bill just a little bit to where it swims to the side and gets into the grass. And then I rip it out of the grass and I do it again. And I rip it out of the grass and I do it again. But it just got to just barely get into the grass and then rip it out. And it causes that reaction strike, and it can be deadly, and it can break your arm because those fish hit it hard. So I do that with docks too. The lunar calendar shows big numbers this weekend on Bassmaster. Any special days following the chart? I haven't checked. Today sucked. So if today was one of the good days, they were wrong. But we'll see what tomorrow brings. I fish no matter what. I don't pay much attention to the lunar calendar, but it does. You can check the feeding times, and you'll see the birds come down from the trees and land on the bank and start feeding, and the bait fish get more active during that period of time. It's crazy, but that's what it really does happen. So, can you talk more about co-angler? Co-angler, how much experience do you need, equipment, etc.? Your experience depends on how, upon you. If you're a beginner, I would probably not go for $100 BFL tournament, but maybe see if you can get into a club that allows beginners, because you can aggravate the boater or whatever. If I'm the boater dude, I'm all for it. But there's a lot of guys who are just, don't want somebody that's a total newbie on their boat, but get some experience fishing in a club and stuff like that. But you got to look and you got to be patient with that. 5 rods or 6 rods max. 5 is my is my preference, because it's easier to store those 5 rods out of the way. Just a small tackle bag of tackle with your confidence stuff, and you should be good. To dive deep into the, man, I wish Ryan was here. Gosh almighty. He was the youngest person ever to win Co-Angler of the Year for the BFLs ever, at 17 years old, and barely 17. And so he would be the one to ask, but unfortunately he's no longer with us. But man, that would have been a good question for him. I know I'm super way behind in comments. Let me pull ahead. I'm gonna skip a bunch of them. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a kayak fisherman, but don't have a fish finder. If you could buy any electronics, what would you recommend? What do you say, Professor Fluke? The Lowrance Hook 2, they designed that one, and I haven't used one, but I've seen the videos and I've really looked into them, because they designed those to one of those fish finders where you can just set it up, mount it to your boat, and you don't have to play around with it much. Doesn't have a confusing menus, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure it out. That's the one I've been recommending, because it's just a good basic bare bones. Buy the biggest screen that you can afford, though, because especially if you're like me and you got a lot, you want to see a lot of information. But the Hook 2 is a really good one. I don't know what kind of kayak you have, so I can't talk about how to mount it and stuff like that. But that's definitely where I would look in that kind of price range. So, do I have any experience with a Defy black rods? Yes, I do. They're great. The one that I use the most is actually my big heavy swim bait rod. The Defy Black had, and I don't know if they still do, a broomstick of a swim bait rod, and that's what I throw my 9 and 11-inch bull shads, those 13, 12, and 14-ounce baits with. And it's been great. I told them when they first sent it to me that I was going to try to break it, because I didn't believe they could make a swim bait rod that sold for that cheap. I think that rod was like 60 or 80 bucks at the time. So far, so good. But yeah, they're really good. Where they save their money is in the reel seat and in the handle material and the guides. The blank's still a really good blank, so it's a give and take. What's the worst fishing experience you have had? I don't know. I don't get in arguments with people much. I kind of am really good at kind of calming people down when they get mad at me, or mad at me for coming into their spot, or there's been a couple of times. Well, I guess let me tell you this one. Back when I had my 14-foot John boat, I had a little 8-horse tiller on the back. I had decked it. I put a deck in it, and I was fishing, and I was on Clark's Hill, and there was a road bed that I was fishing out fairly deep and dragging a shaky head and catching fish. Well, around the bend, around the point, came this larger John boat with 2 dudes in it, 2 teenagers or early 20s, no shirt on, came towards me, stopped right dead where I was making a cast. And like it was nothing. I don't think they realized I was fishing there. But anyway, they came, we started talking, a little bit of small talk here and there, and their boat was drifting closer to me and closer to me. And I overheard one of them turn to the other one and say, "Does he have anything?" And I knew then they were getting ready to rob me. Just so happened that when I was in my truck, after I put my boat on the trailer, or boat in the water, I remembered that I had my pistol in my truck, and I didn't want to leave it in my truck at that boat ramp. So I pulled it out and I just stuck it in my tackle bag. No big deal. I just didn't want to leave it in my truck. I remembered I had it in my tackle bag, and I pulled it out and I laid it on top of the tackle bag and made sure they saw it. And I said, "Yes." I said, "Yes, sir, I do." Laid it on my tackle bag, and they took off. So that's the worst experience I think I've ever had in the water. But they were dumb. What MOS was I in the Army? I was a 91 Papa and a 91 Bravo, which was an X-ray tech and a field medic. So I tried to be a sniper. They wouldn't let an X-ray tech go to sniper school. Who knows? Is there anything different about setting the hook with a chatterbait or spinning lure? Yes, well, it depends on what it's different from. What I like to do with a chatterbait and a spinner bait, both of them have an open hook, single open hook. So all you got to do is tighten down really hard. So you're reeling and you feel the bite, you just pull really hard, and it sets that hook in there. It's not a reel down to them and jerk it. That's Texas rig. Anything you got to punch a hook through a plastic worm before it gets into the bass. That's how you set the hook with that. But a spinner bait or a chatterbait, it's just to tighten really hard. And that's why a medium, heavy, moderate is a really good rod for that. So Noranda, thanks for another $5. I appreciate it. She says, I have to be to work in a couple of hours and then go fishing, so I'm going to bed. Good night. All thanks for the advice and tips, Gene. You're amazing. Thanks. Good luck tomorrow. Have fun. So John Larson, crank it up, Bo. If you, bro. Yeah. So see that picture right here? John Larson painted that picture of me. So I think that's the coolest picture. And I leave it crooked to bother everybody that has OCD, like Tackle Junkie 81. He can't stand that picture. It's hilarious. Let's see. Any tips for crappie fishing? I don't do it, but in the winter time, so I'm not that good at it. How do you like the new ZSLD? And are the original concept A's and C's getting discontinued? The originals are getting discontinued. I do not have a Z. They did not send one to me. I don't know why. Yeah, if Dave Lefebvre has one, I'm going to strangle him. Anyway, but they're discontinued the A's and C's because the new A's are super upgraded. They have made those things a tank. They've made them, sealed them better. They've moved the screws around, the mounting screws. They've changed both on the C and the A. They've changed the braking system to a more smooth and a better braking system. The C is light. I mean, I took it out of the box and I was like, how in the heck do they have a $220 reel this light? It's a $500 reel every day, as a reel that's that light. And it's smooth. I've been fishing with it for 2 weeks now. Great reel. But that's what's going on with 13. Hey, Fluke, going fishing for smallies tomorrow for the first time. It's in a cooling lake with average depth around 14 feet. What would you recommend to try? I have two baits that I always try for smallmouth, no matter what time of the year. I try a crankbait that dives between 8 and 12 feet deep, and it's usually in a crawfish pattern. And I tried jerk bait with some type of chartreuse on it, kind of a clear jerk bait with a chartreuse belly and something like that. Those are the two that I always have tied on, and I always seem to catch smallmouth with. And then when I find them and locate them, I'll slow down with a shaky head or something, something on the bottom and see if I can catch them. Drop shot is always really good. I'm not super good at smallmouth, but when I do get up north to Wisconsin and Minnesota, I do catch quite a few. So Sean Pescatelli, how you doing, man? So what's up, Gene? The sport can humble you. Yes, it can. Have you ever gone out on the water and not caught anything? All the time. It's been a while, though. It's been a pretty good year for me, but it happens. And it's just one of those things. What do you learn from the days you don't catch fish? I thought it was going to happen today because the bite was so slow. I got there at 6. I caught my first fish at 10:30. And it was a soft little subtle bite. That new Fate black rod is super sensitive for some reason. And it's just been nuts. It was a tough day, but I did catch 2 big ones. I got 4 bites and caught 4 fish, but I fished for 13 hours. So, all right, I'm trying to catch my breath. Can you, Eddie Maximo, is that your last name? That's pretty cool. Can you fish the Carolina rig as slow as the Texas rig? If so, does it snag as much? Yes, you can. It does snag a little bit more, depending on the sinker. I like to use little cylindrical sinkers, long, skinny ones. They don't tend to snag that much. But if you're in the rocks and stuff like that, I don't like to fish it super slow because it gives that sinker a chance to roll down into a crack somewhere. So I still would go with a Texas rig. So let's see. Outdoors with Matthew Costello. I'm going pond fishing very early in the morning. I have a Rebel popper. Is it a good lure to throw very early in small pond? Yes, it is. It is, dude. Until that sunlight hits the water, a popper should be really good. Any kind of top water will be good. Started fishing a week ago. Sorry, but I'm having much more trouble than needed catching bass. Only have caught 3 in a week since I've started. Was using mostly Cincos, but want to try Rooster Tails. Opinions. You're doing really, really good for only having a week's worth of fishing, and you've already caught 3 fish. Really good. So don't beat yourself up over that. Cincos catch fish anywhere and everywhere. I hate to fish them, but they catch fish. I'd rather watch paint dry. But rooster tails are really good. They get hung up a lot if you're fishing from the bank, but they do catch a lot of fish. The other one I was thinking about is get a small little spinnerbait. Go watch my video on go into my beginners. I got a beginners playlist, and in that playlist there's a video about choosing your first tackle. Go into that one, and those are some good guidelines to go with. I'm not saying buy exactly that, but watch the video and just use that as a guideline. You should be just fine. So Leland, thanks for the $10, man. You guys that are donating, I really appreciate it. You don't have to. It's not a requirement. I do get to see your comments a little bit easier because I get all kinds of little things that show them to me. But I really appreciate it. You're awesome, man. Thanks for the $10. My home lake is High Rock Lake in North Carolina. It stays fairly stained. Let me get down here where I can read the comment because my camera's in the way. Stays fairly stained. I've been told not to bother fishing any deeper than 15 feet due to water clarity. Does that sound accurate? Yes, it does. I wouldn't say 15. I'd actually try 20 just because I'm that way. I don't believe everybody. But when you got really stained water, and I'd say a foot, maybe a foot and a half of visibility max, you're not going to fish much deeper than 15 or 20 feet. The bass will get down there, but a bass is a sight feeder for the most part. It can feel vibration using its lateral line, but for the most part, it's a sight feeder, and it feels more comfortable being close to something it can see. So it's going to hide in some cover. The muddier the water, the shallower the bass gets, and the tighter they get to cover to where they feel safe and comfortable. So, Cranking Collie, hey Gene, hope all is well. Do you plan on fishing any more bass tournaments? Take care. I might. I've already qualified for the championship, so I don't really have to. But I got a text from one of the guys at La Crosse, Wisconsin. He's on the he's part of the tourism board over there. He works for the tourism department. Anyway, he called me and asked me if I was going to do it. So he got the wheels turning. I really hadn't been thinking about it. But I'll have to look at the dates and see whether it's worth my while. That's a lot of money to spend to travel up there. But I love fishing up there. Holy cow, the frog bites should be on unreal back that time in October or September, whenever it is. But I just have to look. So that'll be the next one I fish, though. So, oh goodness, DP, nice seeing you. Always nice to watch your videos, but you have to get back to work. Quick question. When using a trailer hook on spinnerbait, do you put a trailer on the stinger or the main hook? Trailer on that. I don't put a trailer on them when I'm fishing I don't put a trailer as in what he's talking about is like a grub or a twin tail trailer, some type of soft plastic. When I'm using a trailer hook, I do not put one on there because it can cause all kinds of issues. It can be done. I just don't like to do it. I don't see any reason to. Now, there is something that I will do. So you got those trailer hooks that go on and they don't wiggle back and forth. They go over and they're tight to that hook and they don't wiggle. Those are great for fishing around wood because they don't roll over. Most of the time I don't do that. Most of the time I put the trailer hook on and then put a keeper over top of it, over top of the main hook to hold it on there and just let it swing freely, because that way if a bass bites it, it can't throw the bait. It's a free swinging hook and it can't throw the bait. So have I tried the 6 Sense catwalk yet? I have not. Oh, that sucks. It says warning, complain about the 13 fishing. A real I reel with my left hand because I learned how to fish a bait caster that way, and it's more efficient too. But the Fate Black combo is only right-handed. Please address this. You can buy the Fate Black and then buy a reel separate. But yeah, you're right. It's only right-handed. The reason is because they have to retool the equipment to make a left-handed reel, and that's expensive. And they don't sell enough left-handed reels in certain models to pay for that. And so they'd be losing tons and tons of money. It's just expensive. And that's why you see a lot of right-handed reels and not a whole lot of left-handed reels in a lot of different models. So best thing to do is, since you do reel left-handed, is buy a rod and buy the reel separate, and you should be okay. And it probably is going to cost you a little bit extra. So William Wills, hey Gene, appreciate you. Just picked up an Old Town PDL. I'm new to being a yak owner. You inspire me a bit to go that direction. What would your top 2 or 3 tips be for yak bass fishermen? Use an anchor. Get an anchor. Use an anchor. I use one every single day. I use it hundreds of times a day. My right arm hurts from cranking up my anchor wizard and getting it on there. Always wear your PFD no matter what. Put it on before you get in the boat. Take it off when you get out. And have fun with it, dude. Really. The tips are, I mean, the biggest thing is just be safe. Understand that if you fall out of it, you're not going to tip it. Most kayaks don't flip when you fall out. If you fall out of it, it can get away from you pretty quick. So that's why you got to have your PFD on, and you can work your way back to it. Especially if it's windy, it'll be gone. The next one is, the first thing you need to do is take it out on the water. Anything that can fall out of that kayak, take it out. Jump in the water, out in open water, and practice getting back into your kayak. That will save your life one day. Practice getting back into your kayak. And the way you do it is you have your hand, as you're in the water, you have your hand on the gunnel closest to you. You kick really, really fast, and you push off and then swing over and grab the other side of the gunnel, other side of the boat, and try to get your belly over top of the gunnel that was close to you before your weight gets on the kayak. It's tough, but then you can roll over, sit up, and you're good. Practice that, and it will save your life. I should have put that in a video, and I never have, and I don't know why. So, whoo. Daniel Gibbs, hey Gene, when are we going to get the catfishing video? Man, I haven't catfished in years. Bass is my life. I need to, though. That would be a lot of fun. Let's see. Hey, Fluke, I mostly target points close to shore, docks, vegetation, bunches of structure, points, etc. How can I catch the fish in the deeper waters of Lake Osborne in South Florida without a fish finder? Dude, I don't know, to be honest with you. Without a fish finder, a fish finder is a must for offshore fishing. I hate to say that. I hate to say, hey, y'all go spend $400 to $2,000 on a fish finder. But if you're going to be an offshore angler, the fish finder is the tool. I spent hours staring at mine today fishing offshore, hours, and it is my eyes, and I cannot fish offshore without it. I don't know how. I have tried, and I suck at it. So that's the best thing is for you to do is just save your money, mow lawns, do extra jobs. Just save your money and get yourself some type of a fish finder to be able to fish offshore. So, hey, you guys that are helping me answer questions because I'm taking so long, I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Hey, Gene, what's your personal best? Also, when do you throw a ribbon tail, worm, and craw? Personal best is 10 pounds, 12 ounces, caught out of a Hovey PA-14 in Alabama, right down the bank from Hank Parker. Matter of fact, Hank Parker was filming a TV show at the other end of the lake. But anyway, so I throw a ribbon tail worm from about May. When the water temperature, let me do a water temperature because it's different in every state. When the water temperature gets about 75 degrees and up, I start throwing a ribbon tail worm. That's kind of a general, gives you an idea about when I throw it. Craw, I tend to throw those more early spring when the water temperature gets about 45 degrees, all the way up to when it gets to be about 70 degrees. And then I tend to stop. I don't know why. You probably could catch fish the whole time with them, but I stop. Now, if I'm up north in Minnesota and the water temperature is 75 degrees and I've got grass, or 72 degrees, then I'm going to pull out a crawbait, because grass up in Minnesota is full of crawfish. And I catch a ton of fish that way. So, Stetson Jones, what do you look for when buying a boat? For me and most bass fishermen that I know, it's storage, it's layout, it's how I look at how well the rod holder is, how good the rod holder is, or rod locker is. I look at how much tackle storage I have, because I want a tackle store in my boat. I want to be able to have everything I need in my boat. Kayak is a whole different story. Storage for everything is important. Comfortable seat is okay. I stand up most of the time. Then the next thing I do is I make sure I get the largest trolling motor. And if it's an aluminum boat, the largest trolling motor that you can get on that boat. I know that like Tracker and Alumacraft used to and stuff like that, their standard trolling motor for most of their aluminum boats was a 45-pound thrust trolling motor. And then they wondered why people complained that they couldn't control their boat in the wind with the trolling motor. Alumacraft now, standard on the 18-footer, and I think on the 16, don't quote me on this, standard is a 70-pound thrust trolling motor. But make sure you have a good trolling motor, and they'd be great. So, but motor just depends on your preference. But the best thing is to go ask your dealer about prices. Shop dealers. Find dealers that'll give you the best deal, and be willing to travel to go get a boat. When should you throw a creature bait versus a worm type bait? I kind of explained that. I consider a craw bait a creature bait. I throw creature baits when the water temperature is cool, like 45, 50, all the way up to about 65, 70. And then worm types I throw all the rest of the time. So where are you fishing tomorrow? Can I piggyback on the Holy Holes? No, I'm fishing a tournament tomorrow. I don't even want my son to come fish my spots tomorrow. Gosh, I got to catch at least 2 more big ones to win it. So I'm on my way though. I'm in third right now in the 3-day tournament I'm fishing, and I'm leading the 1-month tournament. So, DPO, it was nice having Mr. Hoover call you while you were fishing. John won't shut up about it. So John was fishing with Chad, and Chad called me because he's coming fishing with me this next week. And John evidently is a big fan of mine and Hoover's. So, except I'm his number 1, and Chad Hoover is his number 2, by the way. Sorry, Chad. Stefan, what's going on, brother? He says, Lake Eufaula tips fishing tomorrow. Just kidding. How, if any, have you noticed a change in bass species due to human activity like smallmouth with the integration of goby? Oh, okay. I got your question. He's asking if fish that are introduced into the water in bass, have they affected? Yes. Blueback herring is a prime example. A blueback herring lake changes a largemouth bass. It makes a largemouth bass suspend in 100 feet of water and chasing this crazy little fish that's evidently tastes really good to him. It really does. It turns a lake from being a shallow cover lake and bass staying close to cover and structure to bass getting out in the middle of the lake. I've caught fish on topwater in 124 foot of water, largemouth bass. They were chasing blueback herring, and I was probably 300 yards from any kind of shallow water. So crazy. They do change it. And that was all introduced by the striper guides and that kind of stuff. Let's see. Can you explain when you would use a flat-sided crankbait over square bills or regular cranks? I use a flat-sided crankbait in the early spring. That's when it works the best because it's got a tight wiggle. Most of them don't make a lot of noise, and for some reason, bass during that period of time love that kind of action. As the water warms up, as they spawn and it gets into post spawn, that's when I go to larger square bills, rounder bodies, and then and regular cranks, with the exception of a wigglewort or something similar to a wigglewort. That I use all winter long, and I fish them around rock cover, and they really, really work well, winter all the way through to spawn. That's the only exception, and I could not tell you why it works. It just does. So, would you ever fish MLF style tournaments, and do you support them? Yes and yes. I think they're great. I really do. I would love to try them. I would probably lose my mind because I would get spun out way too easy, but that would be a lot of fun. So, do you have a video on your relationship with? Oops, just popped on me. I just lost all my comments. There we go. Do you have a video on a relationship with the young man who you spoke of that passed away? I heard you mention him a second ago. Terrible with names. Ryan. Yes, I do. I have a couple of them. When I picked him up from wherever he was living, and he was still high on meth or on heroin. Sorry, he wasn't a meth addict, heroin. And got him clean, brought him down here, turned this office into his apartment so he could live. Took his keys from him, took his money from him, took his phone from him for a little while, and then let him travel with me and fish with me while he was detoxing, which was a interesting to say the least. But anyway, and so he was clean for 87 days, and I won't go into the rest of the details, but best angler I've ever known in my life, could have been amazing. Was a great guy when he was clean, and let me tell you guys something. Addicts aren't always bad people. He never stole a thing. He sold everything he had, and he was left with nothing. But he was a great guy, and everybody loved him. So it was hard. It was a hard few weeks after that. Still hard. I think about him every day. So I started doing kayak tournaments in Michigan thanks to some videos from you. I watched or video you I watched. I've been having a hard time catching more than 1 to 2 fish in an evening, while others are limiting out. Tips. Ooh, that's hard to. The best thing is don't let it get in your head. It all depends on your conditions and time of the year and that kind of stuff. But start picking people's brains that are fishing, even after the tournament. Say, hey, dude, help me out, because kayak anglers are a different breed. They don't mind helping you out. How did you catch them? What can I do to be a little bit more successful? Just pick their brains, and you'll be amazed at what information you can get out of them. You don't want to ask for spots. That's the worst thing. But find out how they're fishing, how deep they're fishing, fast, slow, that kind of stuff. And you'll figure it out, man. You really do. And then start fishing with some of them when you're not fishing tournaments. See if you can, piggyback along beside them and just learn from them. So that's a good question. So, here's a great question. It says, is there a way to stop thinking about fishing 24/7? I feel like I should be a little more versatile with my desires, but all I want to do is fish. What gives? Do I need help? You only need help if it affects your marriage. I think one of the many motivating factors as to why I started getting serious about doing YouTube and getting serious about doing it full time was I got tired of my wife getting mad at me for going fishing. So the Lord blessed me and made it to where I could make a living fishing, and my wife doesn't complain about me going anymore. That's one of the perks. But I think about it 24/7. I do, and a lot of us do. Make time for your family, make time for God, and then make time for fishing. It's a lot of. I mean, it's such a stress relief. I am so happy because I fish. My wife knows it. If I go a week or two without fishing, she gets mad at me. She's like, you need to get out. And so I go fishing. So, oh goodness. Gene is like a Diamond Dallas page. Wow, good stuff. That's awesome. Let's see. All right, we're gonna get one more question because we are running out of time. Let's see. Hey, that's a good question. This will take a little while to answer. Gene, can you talk about how you fish a Carolina rig? Line, rods, retrieve, bait type, where to fish it. I've got a video that covers all that. Actually, I got 3 videos that cover all that. But anyway, Carolina rig is a dragging bait. You throw it out on a point or around stump beds. I like to throw it out on just like a big, long, vast area that I want to cover, but I want to keep the bait on the bottom. My favorite length is somewhere between 18 and 24 inches for a leader. I use a Carolina keeper or 2 of them and a 1/2 ounce weight. And I don't use a swivel. The Carolina keeper, you put the weight on, you pinch the Carolina keeper and slide it onto poke the line through the hole in it, slide it on there, and it tightens up on the line. Look it up, watch the videos because I have been using them for probably 12 years, 15 years. But anyway, tie the hook on and then put your bait on. The baits I like to use are ribbon tail worms, lizards, and trick worms, and Senkos. Not the real Gary Yamamoto Senkos, but the fake Senkos, any of the other knockoff brands, because they last longer on the hook. But they're a dragon bait. You know, always a 7'6" or longer, medium heavy rod, medium heavy fast action rod. Fluorocarbon braid is great, but I backlash too much with braid, just because of the way that the Carolina rig is casted. Your cast, the longer the leader, the more you have to let it load up behind you. So it's a lob cast. Let it back, let it go, and then you lob it forward, and it doesn't spin or backlash quite as bad. Oh, and when you set the hook, when you feel the bite, you want to set the hook pretty quick. You want to kind of reel down to them, but then it's a sweeping side hook set. If you set up over top of your head, it does something to that weight under the water, and it causes that weight to pull the bait out of the fish's mouth. And so you want a low sweeping hook set, and you'll be fine. So that's a Carolina rig in a nutshell. I appreciate everybody. I love you guys. Thanks for all those who donated through Super Chat. Thanks for your questions. I'm sorry again that I don't get to all of them. I tried my hardest. I talked for an hour. Still got my dinner right here that's not even eaten, but I'll sit down and eat it when I'm done. But I really appreciate you guys. If you haven't checked out my podcast, this ends up going on podcast, so you can listen to it on while you're traveling and everything else. Check out my website for all my Fluke Master merch. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Thanks for joining me, you guys. And like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get out on the water. Go out and catch some fish. Have a great Saturday, and we'll see you.